About 3 weeks ago, we hit 50,000 subscribers, which is just insane to me. I never thought we'd be here when I started about 2 years ago. I asked you guys to ask me questions, and today I'll answer most of them. And there's also a special announcement towards the end of the video. DarkyNL asks, if you could design your own spin to a set, like Ogman's Dragons Galaxies, what would it be? As someone who has played every TFT set so far, I would say the most important thing about a set mechanic is that it makes the game not feel very repetitive. This is usually done by having a mechanic that creates unique situations and gives you different options every game. I think they nailed it with Ogman's, and I can't really think of something better, but if I have to pick, it would be something that changes the fundamental mechanics of TFT. Maybe a Galaxies-like system, where some games you have 6 champions in every shop instead of 5, or some sort of bounty system, where you get extra rewards if you beat certain players, so you can build a comp that hard counters their comp, for example. Zapcat22 asks, I really like to come up with my own builds, sometimes completely from scratch, and other times I'll take a B-tier build and try and milk more win percentage out of it. I was wondering what your process is when experimenting to determine the viability of certain comps or aspects of comps. Great question. For a comp to be viable, it needs a couple of different things. It needs to beat or play well against the current meta comps, it needs a clear early mid to late game path, meaning there are different item carriers you can run, and it needs to play well into the current econ meta as well. The first part you just have to test out for yourself and see how the comp works out, then do a bit of VOD review to see why you lose or win. Then do some further theory crafting in case there is a different board or a different set of items that work better. Candy Cane Arms asks, you mentioned you're a full-time student, what are you studying, and what's your plan after you graduate? Right now, I'm studying communication technology and digital security. Not sure what my plan is after I graduate, since it's still a couple of more years until that will happen, but I will most likely end up getting a job within that sector. And hopefully TFT is still fun at that point, so I can keep making YouTube videos on the side. Rafaeth Hussein, sorry for butchering the name, but they ask, how did you start your journey, as in what drove you to open up this channel, and what particular challenges did you face? I believe you are a grad student. How do you balance your academic life with gaming, streaming, and making videos? First of all, thanks for being a longtime fan, and to answer their question, I started this channel after I hit Challenger for the first time back in Set 3. At that time, there wasn't really any dedicated content creators for TFT. The only other one at that time was Bunny Muffins, and his channel was mostly focused on patch rundowns and tier lists. One of the hardest parts about my climb to Challenger was that there wasn't really any guides on how to play certain comps or guides on other parts of TFT, so I had to self-learn a lot of it and also learn from watching top Challenger players. I knew how to do some basic video editing and thumbnails, and I was obviously good enough at TFT to make guides, so I made an early game guide called How Challenger Players Beat You in the Early Game. I posted it, it got 100 views within the first day. I thought, wow, that was more than I expected, so I made a Brawler Blaster guide a couple of days later, which got 1,000 views within the first day. At that point, my mind was blown, so I made another guide on cybernetics, and that one got 7,000 views within the first day. At this point, I thought the numbers would only keep going up, and the rest of my videos during Set 3 did very well considering the size of the channel. The biggest challenge I encountered was during Set 4. I didn't really enjoy the set at all, so it was very hard to find motivation to make videos. I ended up quitting both TFT and YouTube, and at the time I only had a little over 5,000 subscribers. But when Set 4.5 rolled around, it was a set I actually enjoyed, so I started posting again, hoping my channel wasn't dead. Luckily, people were still interested, and it ended up working out. So I would say don't be afraid to take breaks if you feel a drop in motivation to make videos. And to answer the last part of the question, balancing being a student and YouTuber is hard. Getting enough sleep, good grades, making good videos, and also having a social life on top of that is almost impossible, so you have to prioritize your time, and that's not always easy. Hayden McCardles asks, what is your favorite TFT set and what was your favorite comp? For most people, I think their favorite TFT set is the one where they finally started to learn more about the game and started climbing a lot, and for me, that was Set 2. I have the most games played in that set, mostly because I wasn't a student or a YouTuber at that time, but it was also very addicting to climb all the way from silver to master within a single set. My favorite comp of all time is definitely Chrono Kale from Set 3. I love the flexibility you had with that comp, and also how you could play so many different units and builds on Kale. It was very challenging, but also very rewarding to play. Henry Steinhelfer asks, hey man, I just want to know your all-time favorite champion in TFT. Thanks for the kind words first of all, but I would say my all-time favorite is Bard from Set 3.5. The way it opened up different strategies and also figuring out how to stall for as long as possible to farm as many meeps as possible was very fun and interesting. I hope they reprint him again in a different set so I can test him out again. Lord Potato asks, hey Maskoff, I'm one of your shadow viewers that watch everything but rarely comment. Was wondering if you could grade each tier from the worst to best. Thank you so much. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by each tier, but I assume you mean each set. So here's the tier list. I loved Set 2 like I mentioned earlier, and Set 3 and 3.5 was also a lot of fun, with all the different comps you could play and the different metas. I'm having a ton of fun with Set 7 right now, so I'd put that in A tier with set 4.5. Both of those sets had a ton of fun carries and comps to play, and so far we haven't had any terrible patches. Set 5 will be at the bottom for a lot of people, but I enjoyed it. I thought the shadow items were interesting, and I really enjoyed playing comps like Nightbringer Aphelios and Skirmisher Jax. Set 6 is one a lot of people rate highly, and for good reason. The augment system is amazing, and there was a lot of memorable comps like Yordles and Trundle Reroll. Set 1 was a set I only played for a couple of weeks since I didn't have time to play video games at that point in my life, but I still enjoyed it, although I was only a for fun player and didn't really understand what was going on. Set 5.5 and 6.5 were just not innovative enough mid-set expansions to cut it for me. Too many dull carries and synergies, and it got old very quickly for me. Set 4 was the only set where I quit and didn't play. I took a break from making videos during set 6.5, but I still played a lot of double up with my friends. Let me know what you think about the tier list, or if you want to share your own in the comments. Gamers Worlds asks, do you see any bright future for TFT esports? I think over time we're gonna have a bright future for TFT esports, as esports is a way of marketing your game, not only to new players, but also to TFT players that have moved on to other games. It's still missing some pieces, like the right format has yet to be figured out, and stuff like spectator mode is not there either. But these things take time to make, and I would much rather have Riot focus on making the best TFT set first, and then worry about esports later. Zen Pixel asks, what's your favorite little legend and why? I have to say Umbra. I've used this little legend since set 4 and I still haven't changed it. Not only do I win carousels with it, it also looks dope, and the guitar solo is amazing. Jenny asks, how do you balance studying and playing TFT? Thanks for the kind words first of all, and to answer the question, I would say that you should only balance it out to about 70% studying and 30% playing if your only goal is to learn and improve as a player. But like you mentioned, only playing a couple of games is not very fun, and if that's the case, then just play more games and study less. The most important thing is to have fun when playing video games. Bruno asks, what games were in your childhood, and what are your favorite? First of all, glad you enjoy the content. My dad plays a lot of board games, and growing up we played a lot of Talisman, Settlers of Catan, and the standard Monopoly games. The first video game I ever played was some version of Need for Speed, but the first video game I fell in love with was Age of Empires 2. That game is incredibly fun, and even today it's still fun to play with the Definitive Edition. Kaiden Fung asks, what are some of your hobbies outside of TFT or other games you like to play? If I'm not playing TFT, I'm usually playing Age of Empires or other indie games like Hollow Knight or Outer Wilds. If I'm not playing games or studying, I'm usually working out, drinking, or playing IRL board games with my friends. Aleph-Bot asks, what other game do you see yourself making content or guides for? I don't think I'd ever make content for another game unless TFT died, and I would most likely move on to whatever strategy game comes after TFT. The one that I got my eyes on is the Bazaar, which hasn't been released yet. I've been a fan for Reynad and his streams for quite some time now, and I'm excited to test out his strategy game when that comes out. Sergio Roberto asks, which country you're from, and what's your favorite champion and league? I'm from Norway, and although I don't play League anymore, my favorite champion back in the day was Trinivir. Randy Lynn asks, Pink Guy, Filthy Frank, or Joji? I would say 100% Filthy Frank. That was the golden era of YouTube in my opinion. Chung Chilling asks, why is your name Maskoff? Is that from the song With Future? Yes, that's where it's from, and I would play that as the outro song and end the video there, but it's copyrighted and I also have to share my announcement first. Some of you have been asking for cheat sheets for my comp guides, and I will be making those available to patrons and YouTube members now. For $5 a month, you will get access to all previous and upcoming cheat sheets. Here is the current design, and please give me feedback on this as we're looking to continuously improve it. I am paying a graphics designer to make these, so I feel like I have to charge for them to not lose out on too much money, and to also not get crushed by student debt in the future. So if you want to support me, or you're interested in cheat sheets, please become a patron or YouTube member. The links to both of those are down in the description. So thank you so much for 50,000 subscribers, and all the love I get on all my videos. You guys are awesome. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.